shell should be aged outdoors for a minimum of a year prior to use in a setting operation. And the shell should be containerized in a unit that you, the setter, can handle. So shell bags, cages, and crates are all very common containment methods. And what's important here is that you, the setter, are able to move that containment system around conveniently, but also critically, that the material doesn't present any problems for the larvae. And so plastics and stainless steel are both suitable materials for containment methods. And you'll want to keep about a foot diameter free around the standpipe when loading shell into the tank. And this just ensures that you can adjust and remove the standpipe during operation without risking shell falling down into the drain. So it's critical to monitor both salinity and temperature during larval settlement. So very simple and inexpensive monitoring tools are available from a lot of online retailers for under $100. So you can pick these up pretty conveniently. And when you're monitoring your water, you're looking for a salinity level of at least 9. And then temperature has to be maintaining at least 25 degrees Celsius or 77 degrees Fahrenheit. And so I say maintaining there because in those early parts of the summer, in late May and into June, sometimes we'll see water temperatures maybe get up to 77 Fahrenheit during the hottest part of the day, but we need them to be consistently maintaining at that temperature before you're ready to set. And this just ensures that the larvae will acclimate properly and that you'll get a good setting efficiency, meaning you'll get the maximum number of spat out of the tank for the given number of larvae that you put into the tank. If you're interested in setting early in the season before water temperatures in the river are warm enough for larval settlement, you can purchase a submersible titanium heater in order to warm the temperature of the water in the tank during the setting portion only. When you've confirmed that the salinity and the temperature are sufficient for larval settlement, and once you've loaded the tank with shell, you can turn on the regenerative blower first, then turn on the seawater pump and allow the line to flush for just a couple of minutes. Then close the drain and allow the tank to fill. Now you'll leave the regenerative blower running during this entire time. Now, once the water level has reached just above the shells in the tank, then you'll turn off the seawater system and again, make sure that the drain is closed. So in your preferred record-keeping method, whether that's a notebook or a spreadsheet or whatever you use to keep your farm organized, you'll write down the brood number, the source, strain, ploidy, and amount of larvae that you'll be setting, along with the salinity and the temperature and the date of settlement. And you can also go ahead and take note of any weather or environmental conditions of note. So if it was really hot, or if you filled on an incoming tide or an outgoing tide, those are all important components to write down, and they will help with your record keeping so that year to year you can look back and remember what source of larvae or what strain of larvae worked really well for you, and others which may have not performed quite as well as you wanted them to. So starting out, getting ready to set, you're first gonna make sure that your hands are clean, and you're also gonna obtain a clean bucket that hasn't been used for something else. So don't just grab one out of the garage that's been used for motor oil or anything else. Get a clean bucket. And into that clean bucket, you're gonna add just about a gallon of water from the tank that you'll be setting the larvae into. So don't just fill up that tank with water out of a hose or from somewhere else. Make sure that you're grabbing water from the tank that you'll be setting the larvae in. Now you're gonna carefully unwrap the larvae bundle over that bucket. So keep your hands over the bucket the whole time so that just in case you drop the bundle of larvae, it just goes into the bucket. You're gonna slowly undo the paper towel or whatever encasement the hatchery has used to bundle up your larvae. Slowly unbundle and introduce those larvae into the bucket, and take care not to splash too much just because you don't want them to end up on the side of the bucket. Now you'll give the larvae just a couple of minutes to acclimate because they'll be adjusting to the slightly warmer temperature in the bucket because they've probably been either in a cooler or in the refrigerator before you're setting. As a very general rule of thumb, 1 million larvae can be used to set every 50 bushels of shell, although preferences and individual sites may necessitate either a higher or lower density and ratio of larvae to shell. But in general, 1 million larvae per every 50 bushels of shell. Now, once the larvae have acclimated and once they've begun swimming, and you can see them swimming around just a little bit within the bucket, you'll slowly and carefully introduce the larvae into all areas of the tank, adding more water to the bucket to dilute the larvae and to ensure even dispersion all throughout the tank. Now, once all of the larvae have been introduced into the tank and you don't have any more larvae in the bucket, still go ahead and just fill the bucket a few more times and splash the water down into the tank. And that's both to make sure that all of the larvae are out of the bucket, and that helps to facilitate mixing because you want to make sure that the larvae will set all throughout the tank, both in the top and through the bottom. So you'll keep the drain closed and keep the air on during settlement. You'll monitor the tanks over the next 48 hours. And what you're monitoring for here is you want to make sure that the aerator and the blower continues operating, and you still are seeing bubbles in all areas of the tanks. And you want to make sure that the temperature is remaining stable within the tank. And in your record keeping method, whatever you're using, again, whether it's a spreadsheet or whether it's a notebook, keep track of any issues that might arise during settlement. So you could note periods of heavy rain or an unexpected cold snap or any issues that come up with respect to the tank infrastructure. And again, that's just to help with your organization and your record keeping.